Okay, so an easier way to break habits, not easy in the sense that it's lazy, but it's more effective. You could call it a gentler approach. And I'll cover 3 steps. So the first step is about awareness. When you're breaking a habit, you're breaking the trigger behavior reward loop. So if I like candy and I go to candy when I feel stressed, then the trigger might be stress or a thought of stress. I'm thinking a lot. I'm thinking about things that stress me, that create stress in my body. And then I think, okay, candy can help me. So the behavior will be to go to the candy, and the reward or promised reward will be that the candy helps in some way, which it doesn't if you pay attention to it. So the first step, awareness, is about not stopping eating candy right away, but paying attention to it, being mindful of what actually happens. So being mindful that if you're stressed, you go to candy, you're mindful of the trigger, and then being mindful of eating the candy when you're chewing it, really being there with it, tasting the candy, the sugar, the whatever candy you like, and becoming curious about it. What does it taste like? What's actually going on? As you chew the candy more and more, does it taste better? Does it taste worse? Because most often, if we're using something like candy to relieve stress, it's not as good as we think it is. We numb ourselves. We try to eat so much that we don't feel our feelings. So we kind of space out. But when you bring yourself into the moment and become more mindful, you get to see if it's truly rewarding. Or if you're a smoker and you want to stop smoking, then instead of forcing yourself to quit, you smoke more mindfully. So you smoke and you really taste the smoke. What does it taste like? What does it feel like in your body as you're doing it? And this often begins to break the reward loop, because it's not as rewarding in most cases as you think it is. So the second step, paying attention to the underlying drive. So if I feel stressed and I feel an urge to get candy, to eat something, then that's the underlying drive, you could say. But that's also something I've learned. Maybe I reached for candy when I was younger and it somehow helped me cope with things. So what I can do is bring mindfulness into that urge or drive when it comes up, that craving. So if I start to crave candy when I'm stressed, I can become curious about that craving, because that craving is made up of sensations in my body, maybe in my chest or stomach or wherever it is. I can become curious about where those sensations are. Are they moving? Do they have a color? What's going on there? And instead of being afraid of it, instead of automatically acting on those cravings and reaching for candy, I can begin to explore. So this is more about playing with how things really are, your internal reality, being aware, being mindful as you do the behavior or the habit you want to break. And then also being mindful of the urge and the craving. In my case, I don't try to force things. If I have a candy habit, I don't try to force myself to quit. I've tried that in the past. You've probably tried it too. And if you're watching this video, you know it doesn't work that well. It can work, but there are other paths to success, you could say. So I don't force myself. I just remain open and curious about what's actually going on. And often I catch myself wanting candy, and I'll just pay attention to what's going on in my body. Sometimes I'll still have candy. So it's not about having or not having, because as you're more aware, more present, it naturally begins to unravel itself in many cases. So, number 3, time. It takes time sometimes. Now, if you're a smoker and you've never been mindful when you're smoking, maybe you suddenly just realize this doesn't taste good. It's not good for me, and I don't want to do it anymore, and you just stop. But in many cases, it may take time. So it's okay if it takes time. Like I said, I'm not trying to force myself to break habits. It's okay if it takes time. Because even if you only break a habit 1% per day, so let it go 1% more each day, that'll add up because of the law of compounding. So 1% on 1% on 1% becomes a lot after a year, 2 years, 3 years. So we don't have to be in a rush to break habits. In many cases, obviously, there are habits that can be very destructive. So use your wisdom, use your common sense. And it's also helpful to examine why you want to break a habit. Do you want to break it because you think you should in order to be a certain way? Because we have a lot of information, peer pressure, media, that's pressuring us to do things a certain way, to live life a certain way. And we think we have to wake up early in the morning, go for a run, exercise in a certain way. All these different things that sure are helpful for some people, not for everyone, because there's nothing that's good for everyone in many cases. I'm using many cases a lot in this video. So pay attention to what truly resonates with you. Let your own body, mind, spirit guide you to the habits that are relevant for you to begin to explore, to begin to break, to let go. So 3 tips: awareness, become mindful of what you're doing. Number 2, underlying drive, explore the urge. Let the urge be in your body. Explore the sensations. It's not going to hurt you. It's not dangerous. Notice if you're resisting it. Just embrace it and let it be in your body for even a second or 2, and then do your thing. Number 3, time. In most cases, it's going to take time. So just let it be okay. And find the habits that are relevant for you to break, not what other people think you should do. And I'll link up some resources you can check out. There's a good neuroscientist talking about exactly this. His name is Judd Brewer, and I'll link in the description if you want to explore more. And hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe, it really helps, and I'll see you in the next one.